All right. Okay, well, happy Friday and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I wanted to come and see the site of a fire that has been, I think, now under control, but one that had been burning for several days. But due to the very swift action of the South Fire District in Middletown, our State Department of Environmental Protection, our great police department in Middletown, and Eversource, there was a team approach to help protect the residential properties, the business properties that are in this area, but also this beautiful Moromis forest land, which is a natural resource and an environmental treasure. And it is a forest that goes along our beautiful Connecticut River. And you can see back here damage that is indicative of damage over a swath of about 300 acres. And you can see that because Eversource was doing some tree cutting, there were wood chips, there were also a lot of dead trees, but there are a lot of trees that burned, and a lot of the dead trees were like torches, and they were spreading burning embers. You know, the governor and I are concerned still about how this all started, and perhaps we can have the South Fire Chief talk about what his investigation has found. And with that, I want to bring up the mayor, who has helped coordinate all of this activity to protect this beautiful property. Mayor Florsheim.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor, for being here and for your support as we have navigated this very unusual and very challenging event over the past few days, and really all of the credit belongs to the South Fire District and our mutual aid partners and our emergency management partners, as well as the state personnel, Eversource personnel. This was an all-hands-on-deck effort with hundreds of people involved in the response. And the thing that people need to know is that prevented any injuries and prevented this incident from being worse than it was. It was really, as much as people were seeing in the headlines and were seeing the smoke if they lived in this area, it was a managed event from almost the start to the finish, and very successfully put down by this department's response. We are very lucky in Middletown to have what I really feel is the best fire service in the state of Connecticut. We of course have
it's my fire service. It's yours, right?
That's right.
Yep. We live in the South Fire District, so we can say that with authority.
Exactly. We have our Middletown Fire Department as well as our Westfield Volunteer Department on the other side of town. And yes, both Lieutenant Governor and I are residents here in the South District, and it's been amazing to see the partnership, of course, all three of those departments and many others from around our region who responded to this. And it really is the South Fire District and the Middletown Fire Department who lead the whole region as the career departments with the training, with the resources, with the funding available to make sure that responses to this type of unique event are possible. And it bears mentioning that this was a brush fire that potentially we're investigating. We're investigating the sources. You'll hear more from the chief about that. We think that there's possible two separate ignition events for that brush fire, but there was also a structure fire that happened overnight on the same day that this was taking place. And when the call came in to dispatch that there was smoke entering a home over here on Freeman Road where we're standing, the initial assumption by everybody was that it was smoke coming in from the brush fires. It was by the time that people realized there was actually a fire in the basement of their home, it was too late. There were 4 individuals who were trapped on the second floor of their house. And the chief was the first to arrive on scene. I'm going to embarrass him a little bit. And 2 engine companies followed, and thanks to their response and their training and their ability and just their courage and heroism, all 4 of those individuals were rescued without injury. and thank goodness for the fire service. Thank goodness for our amazing police department and their partners throughout the region who made this possible to ensure that a very unpredictable, unusual event that we also, I think, need to be prepared for more of in the future as we deal with the new reality of forest management, as we deal with the new reality of what that looks like in a world dealing with climate change. We have to prepare better and more effectively, and there's so much we can learn from this event. Fortunately, we're not learning from a failure here. We're learning from a successful response, and it is thanks to the men and women of these amazing departments that made it happen. So thank you to them, and I'm going to turn it over now to the chief.
And actually, I just want to add
Susan.
one more thing, Mayor. You can see all of these high tension power lines in the distance, and this also could have been a huge problem if the fire caused power outages. So we really, really appreciate the partnership of Eversource and DEEP and our local fire and police service, because they were able to contain it and also make sure that thousands of people in this area didn't lose power. So protecting the energy infrastructure was really important too. So, Chief, you want to say a couple words?
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor and Mayor. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I'm going to echo some of the words that the Lieutenant Governor and the Mayor had spoken about. And one of the things that this truly proves is partnership, that none of us can handle a large incident like this alone. And immediately, Captain Fisher was the first incident commander and was the incident commander during most of this incident. And this incident grew tremendously in a short period of time. The Lieutenant Governor she was given information that this grew up to upwards of 300 acres. We just learned yesterday that due to the tactics and the strategies of everybody involved, we were actually able to contain it to just under 200. Wow. We were assuming that it was going to burn even further, but having those partnerships in place early on certainly saved a lot of this forest. The initial call started with a downed tree on the power lines. As we all know, it's been relatively windy lately, and we had, which is for us, a routine call of a tree on the wire down on River Road. Crews got on scene. They noticed the live wire was on the ground and a fire was starting, and it was nothing exceptional until the wind kicked up. As soon as the wind kicked up, the fire grew exponentially up the terrain of the hill, which really overpowered the resources we had on the scene. The Captain Fisher immediately called for more resources, and the resources kept building on. Like I mentioned before, we cannot do this alone. We immediately called DEEP. DEP had feet on the ground within a half hour and 40 minutes, and they were able to assemble a crew. We had Westfield Fire Department come in immediately with their brush equipment. We had Middletown Fire Department standing by. And then as it progressed, within an hour, hour and a half, we reached out to our mutual aid partners, all of our surrounding community in Middlesex County. And at the height of the fire, we had over 100 personnel working the fire lines. The initial fire we know started by the tree falling on the power line, which created the fire. Sometime afterwards in the evening, after we surrounded the fire and we contained it for the evening, at about 11:30, 12 o'clock that following day in the evening, I got a report from DEP that we had another fire starting south here, south of Freeman Road, and was impinging on the house. We immediately sent our Engine 32 out to scene to investigate, and they had running fire, wind-blown running fire, in close proximity to a residence. We immediately upped the resources to almost to the full complement that we had the day before. So the people that we called upon initially didn't get a moment's rest. They had to come back and help us again. And I want to point out that all of our surrounding towns that come to help out are all volunteer firefighters. So these volunteer departments not only left their families, but most of them took the day off from work to help us here at the South Fire District, and I can't be more appreciative for their help and their support. After a further investigation, it's not quite determined whether that fire was intentionally set or if it could have been what we call a snag from some type of embers that come off of the initial fire, so that's still under investigation.
And Chief, can I
Yes.
just ask, the mayor and you were talking about the house fire. Was that caused by the brush fire, or
No,
was that
and
just an independent basement
that's
fire?
independent basement fire.
Good thing you were there.
You know, and irony plays a big part in a lot of things here. That second fire started, we had all of our resources out here on Freeman Road. Now, Freeman Road is probably the farthest distance from our fire station could be. And we had everybody here. We had a call on the radio that there was smoke in the residence. I radioed back. I didn't want to pull any of our people away from the fire. I said I would go check it out. Middletown 911 dispatch did a tremendous job. They stayed on the phone with the caller, and they kept giving me relevant information that, you know, the smoke is getting thicker and thicker, painting a picture that this is probably not from the brush fire. So within I was probably on scene within 2.5 minutes, and rounding the corner, I saw that we had a working structure fire, and we had 4 occupants trapped on the second floor. Engine 32 from South District and Middlefield Tanker 5 were immediately behind me. We made entry. We were able to find the victims. Engine 32's Lieutenant hiding through a ladder. We were able to pass the victims out safely. They did have smoke inhalation, but their injuries were just sustained to that. And not to sound too dramatic, but we were moments away from what could have been a horrible tragedy. So the irony of the whole thing is all of our resources happened to be down here. You know, I couldn't tell you what would have happened if we had to respond from our station to get out here.
So let's have
One of the things I want to introduce, Eric Costa, he's our police chief in the city of Middletown. We were able to use new technology here. The city of Middletown, the police department has a drone, quite a robust drone, and has infrared sensing on it. Being able to use that drone and being able to map out the area, we were able to more effectively deploy our assets where they were needed. Typically, in a fire of this sort, we would have to do a foot walk of the whole perimeter to see where the hot spots are, and we were able to use that technology thanks to the police department. So I introduce Eric Costa, the police chief.
How many days have you been on the job, Chief?
8 months.
8?
8 months and still counting.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for coming down here. Great job by South District Fire Department and our partners that are around our city. I think this is a great example of community coming together, agencies coming together, and the importance of training in a group with cross disciplines. I want to thank the Connecticut State Police as well, assisting. I just want to make known that the importance of staying away from this area at this time. There are crews still here working. Roads are limited and have restricted access to the residents. We wish to, be respectful to the residents in this area because they're going through a time right now that is a little bit difficult, and our fire departments and tree crews are working hard and diligently to bring this to a resolution. To bring back the drone program and on our drone unit. Technology is so important now today in law enforcement, and now knowing that in fire department and emergency services all around. I'm very thankful to have Officer Tarabayo, who's our drone operator, come out and be a partnership with South Fire District in this incident. It's extremely proud. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of my officers and proud of being part of this great city to do this together. And we're hoping to bring this to a quick resolution quickly. And I want to thank everyone and thank Lieutenant Governor for coming out and addressing this. And Mayor Florsheim, thank you very much.
All right. So we will open it up for any questions from these experts here.
Well, you already kind of talked about what you believe the cause is still under investigation. I'm just curious because, well, in any other day, that house fire would have been here for that. So I'm glad you described it. That, maybe we can highlight that as well, because that was, that great effort. Was the timing in any way that house fire may have sparked the fire on this street?
No, they were totally unrelated. The fire was at 174 Freeman. It's far remote from where the fire location is here, the Woodland Fire. And our fire marshal's office did investigate, and it was accidental in nature in the basement of that structure.
I know you talked about it earlier, but did you want to reiterate just like being even a resident in this area, how, what it means to you to have these efforts and have...
So both the mayor and I live within a very close range of this area, and I am just so relieved that there was a partnership between our fire service, police department, Eversource, state police, the Department of Environmental Protection to protect this beautiful area, to protect our residents, because with all of these dead trees and with the high winds, it could have been a very, very dangerous situation. And so they acted so quickly, and the collaboration was key in keeping it to 200 acres. Mayor, do you want to add anything?
Just that, this is, we were talking about it before we got started, this is one of the most beautiful and kind of best kept secret areas of Middletown. It's where a lot of our city-owned open space, as well as state and Eversource managed open space is located. We have trail systems out here. It's a beautiful part of town, and it's also, as the chief mentioned, some of the most difficult terrain to navigate for the purposes of emergency management and emergency response. And we're down by the river right now. I live on top of a big hill that's right nearby, and the smoke didn't make it up to our home, but South Fire has responded up there before, and it is challenging, but it is a gem that we need to protect. And I will add that when I got off the phone with Chief Trasky the other morning, the morning after this incident, he had just gotten finished explaining to me the response to the house fire and how that had happened, and I had not realized until that conversation that 4 people had very nearly lost their lives or been seriously injured and had their home impacted in this way. And so he described to me the department's amazing response. And right after that, it should be said that in addition to the fire departments and the police service and emergency management, we have our building department is involved in every fire response. Our health department is involved. There's many, many, many personnel that get involved in the aftermath of these types of events. And so right after I got off the phone with the chief, somebody from our health department came in who's been to hundreds of these events over the years. And he had came up to my office straight from the scene and said, Mayor, I just need you to understand something, that Chief Trasky and that team that responded, they just saved 4 people's lives. And I have never seen an act of heroism in all the years I've been responding to these events like what I saw. And as the chief said, it was fortunate that they were here. It's good that they were here, and because this is such a difficult location to respond to, and hopefully, again, because it was a successful response, we can also learn from the fact that it could have gone much differently had the response time been different, had they been at the station instead of out here. And so we need to make sure that for the next incident, we have a contingency plan in place to make sure that response time is the same as it was for this fire, and that it has the same outcome. So, yeah, thank you.
I just have one last thing. I don't know if you can go to the chief to the microphone.
Yeah,
just
please.
One last thing. For this fire, any firefighters injured?
Yeah, on the initial attack, as you know, it was quite frantic as soon as we got here. We tried to contain the fire as quickly as we can, so we pulled regular structural hose lines right into the woodland, and one of our firefighters did sustain a foot injury. He is out as of today, but he was going to be able to recuperate, and he will be 100%. So realistically, we don't want anybody to get hurt, but if you look at the logistics of how many personnel we had, if you look at the terrain we had here, and we had what we would consider a possible minor injury, we're very fortunate. And that's accolades to the command structure and the personnel working.
Chief, how many firefighters and folks were here fighting? If you could give that.
We had at least 100 personnel on scene at one given time.
No, and I'll just say, if you do a lot of hiking or walking in the woods, as I do a lot, you can see behind and around, there are a lot of dead trees. And so a lot of the trees were damaged during storms over the past year or two. And they are like torches if there's one ember or one spark. And so I am glad that we have collaboration and the teamwork to be able to respond. So
I just want to add also that although South Fire District, we were the first initial fire department on scene, once we get our personnel on scene and we get all the resources in place, DEP plays a crucial role. they're the agency that really kind of takes over, works in what we call the unified command, where we supply the manpower and the equipment, they supply the expertise and the hand crews to get in there and really come up with a comprehensive plan of containing the fire.
Chief, has that always been the case? Or is
That has always been the case, but however, I've learned that just recently some legislation has been passed allowing the DEP forestry crew to call in more personnel. They have both an intra and interstate team, and unintended consequences led to they weren't able to draw resources from both. But thanks to legislation that had passed, they are now able to draw from both pools of workers, and they were able to put twice as many people on the ground here, which obviously led to the success of putting this fire out.
And we had invited DEP to come, but they are very stressed, especially in this season, and because they've had a lot of retirements. But the reason that DEEP's expertise was important is they will do a lot of forest management. They know how to do controlled burns, and they are experts at what to do if there are forest fires. So we really appreciate DEEP's support. They just couldn't send anybody to this.
Yeah, they were busy. We did invite them.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to let these cars go through.